This is very. The topic is AIDS, AIDS, an update. And of course, we have with us to give us this update Mr. RCrowder, who is the founder of an organization called Street Works, and who is also one of the leading fighters in a real sense against this disease, not only in the state of Tennessee, but throughout the United States of America. And I think that we're correct in saying that, Mr. Crowder, because you've been everywhere dealing and having all kinds of discussions and et cetera with all kinds of people. Let's talk about some of the statistics in reference to this disease.
Well, as you know, Dr. Haney, well, you may not know that approximately every 10.5 minutes, someone in the United States is becoming infected with HIV. Mm-hmm. Probably every 30 minutes, someone dies of HIV in the United States. Mm-hmm. So while I said in the earlier segment, this is a manageable disease, okay, we still must realize that this is still a fatal disease as well, because HIV is such a hideous disease. 1/4 of the people who have the virus don't even know that they have it. And so, again, that's a reason why people are still dying of the illness. And as we still know that African Americans are still disproportionately affected by the disease. And I need to say that what we, based on earlier reports and the news media and all of that about HIV, there's still a lot of stigma associated around the disease. And with that stigma prevents people from getting tested.
And then ultimate treatment, is that?
And so the best thing is early detection and early treatment. So when I say it is a manageable disease, in order to manage it, you first must know that you have it. And the only way that a person will know that they have it is take an HIV antibody test. Now, when I say take an HIV antibody test, we first must realize that HIV, that H stands for human. That means to me that if you are human, you have some degree of risk of being HIV. If you're human, that means that's all of us. So what I'm saying, Dr. Haney, is that everyone, everybody, let me back up just a little bit, because people still have this notion that only certain people get HIV. That H stands for human. Every human has an HIV status. Even you, Dr. Haney, you have a status. That status is either positive or negative. So everybody needs to know their status. And people still have a notion to think that this is a disease amongst young people. Now here's a stat that most people don't know. People over the age of 50 are becoming infected at the same rate as teenagers. People over the age of 50 are becoming infected at the same rate as teenagers. You know, so therefore, what I'm trying to say is, everybody should take an HIV test.
You know, Mr. Crowder, when you say that people over the age of 50 are being impacted by this disease as much as teenagers, what would you say, excuse me, having examined and dealt with this disease for a long time, what would you say would be the difference between an individual who is 50 years old and learn about his status and a much younger individual who might learn about his status? what would be their different reactions to this?
Well, I think the reaction would probably be somewhat similar. I think that people over the age of 50 has a different outlook on whether or not they are at risk for HIV. I think that's where the difference occurs. I think that people over the age of 50 look at the behaviors that put you at risk for HIV different from a person of a younger status, you know what, or a younger age. People over the age of 50 don't seem to think that their risk is the same as a teenager. But what they have to realize is that a teenager get infected the same way that a person over 50 do. So it's not who you are that get you HIV infection, but what you do. So if a person over the age of 50 do the same thing as a teenager do, then their risks are the same. You understand what I'm saying? So, and I think that's where the discrepancy lies. So, I think people over the age of 50 seem to think that if they are engaging in sexual relations with someone of that same age group, their risk isn't the same. But that's not true. That is not true. What happens is we are creatures of habit. And as creatures of habit, we do, you know, I mean, it's
what
only
creatures of
habit do. You know, that's how we got here. So those people do those same things, and they have those same risks. That's the bottom line. And then with the advent of Viagra, Cialis, and all these other things, even increases the risk, especially amongst men in that age group. So,
well, you know, I think that's an interesting observation here, that these new elements have also, while they might be liberated in terms of what they will allow individuals to do, they also increase the rate of HIV and AIDS. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying that it makes people more accessible to that risk or to those behaviors that put them at risk.
Okay, very good. Let us take this second commercial break, after which we'll come back and continue our conversation. We're talking to Mr. Ron